Hi, everybody. I'm here with Pete, and we are talking Agatha all
We
along.
are. Man, I've been waiting for this show for such a long time. I'm like, I don't even know what to say.
It's such a good show, and I knew it was going to be good,
Hmm.
but I don't think I realized how good it was going to be. And so let's just get into it. As you said, we were waiting for it for a long time.
Because we
What
left
were
off at the end of
WandaVision?
WandaVision with Agatha kind of getting her comeuppance, but also for the two of us who are like, well, Wanda's the big bad villain, of the second phase. Anyway, it just felt like, okay, Agatha made her mistakes, but Wanda is kind of the big bad. So I'm waiting for the comeback, the comeback story of Agatha. And to be honest, Catherine Hahn just hit it out of the park with this character, and you knew they were going to find some way to bring her back. I mean, we were having fun, and then when there's the reveal and the song Agatha All Along, it's like at this point I feel like the signatures were already being inked of like, okay, we would like you to make a show, just be Agatha, and we'll just film it. And so I've been waiting for this since the song, since the reveal that it was Agatha all along.
I pretty much feel the same way. And I knew that we were going to get a show as soon as they said Fantastic Four.
Mm.
As soon as they said that they had gotten the rights back to the Fantastic Four and that they were doing the Fantastic Four, I was like, ain't no way that we're not getting Agatha Harkness back. She is
So
too important to that family and to their mythos for that character to not be back.
can you explain how? Because for the
Oh,
Fantastic Four, and honestly, Agatha, like I'm kind of a sophomore in this topic. I really don't know as much as I wish I did.
really? I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Okay. So Agatha Harkness in the comics, there's two origins. There's the ultimate version, which is the younger one who looks more like what Catherine Hahn's character looks like now. And there's original recipe Agatha Harkness. And original recipe Agatha Harkness is at least 500, if not 1,000 years old. She is the one who taught Wanda how to control her magic, which in a roundabout way. Now, the ultimate version was the villain. And so they sort of combined her version from the Ultimates with her main continuity version. But in both scenarios, she's the one that taught Wanda to control her magic. And so that her being there, as soon as the first episode showed up and she showed up in that purple, I was in that outfit, I knew it was Agatha. And I was like, I know who that is. You ain't lying to me.
I mean, to be fair, I will agree. I heard you say it, and I didn't even process it. So I've
So
learned my lesson.
see, the girl with the like almost encyclopedic knowledge of Marvel was right. Shocker. um, so where the Fantastic Four are concerned, Agatha was the governess for the children of Reed Richards and Sue Storm. So Valeria and Franklin Richards, partially because she, as good as Reed is not magic inclined in any way, shape, size, or form. And so they needed someone who would be able to protect their children from someone like, I don't know, who else is coming to the MCU? Doctor Doom, who is one of the few characters who masters both magic and science.
So they got like Rent-A-Crone, and that's how they ended up with Agatha Harkness.
Kinda, not. It was way more organic than that. But
Okay.
the long and the short is basically she was like, "All right, I owe you guys a favor, so I'm going to protect your kids, and I'm going to show you how to protect your kids." And they were like, "None of us are magically inclined in any way. Please help." And so So she ended up being the one who basically helped raise Valeria
Mm,
and Franklin. And then there's her connections to characters like the Ancient One and Loki and Wanda and Magic, who we are going to
mhm,
ignore anything that happened with the Fox version of Magic
mm. I did.
completely because that
Um,
didn't happen. I
nope.
don't know anything about that. Yep, when Magic gets introduced further down the line as the character she's supposed to be, Agatha will be the one that will help her learn how to control her powers.
I'll just
Agatha
think
and
of that
Storm.
movie as a Furiosa prequel.
Exactly.
So,
No,
okay.
because Furiosa wouldn't have been that racist. But anywho, I said what I said.
So now
So,
here we are with the TV show. We're what,
yes,
2 episodes in, 3 episodes in?
three
I don't even.
episodes in. And this is, for me, Loki is peak Marvel. Not just
Mm,
TV, just peak Marvel, period. Full stop. Peak Marvel TV was Echo. And this show is rapidly running up behind Echo to become my second favorite thing behind Loki that the MCU has done pretty much since Endgame. Just did ass.
mm,
I am really loving everything that they've done. I had so many expectations of the quality of the show, and they've been met. I knew it was going to be quality because Catherine Hahn is actually very picky about where she shows up. If you followed her career, she doesn't just sign on to anything. When she shows up, it's going to be a character, even if it's a character that you love to hate, like our character on Parks and Recreation. She's going to still be a scene stealer. She's still going to have the best
mm.
line. She's going to have the best wardrobe. She's going to be amazing. And so she doesn't just show up in anything. So I absolutely loved the casting from Jump and seeing her. Let's just get into what we loved.
Mm,
And one of the things that I loved is this show, much like WandaVision. You guys know that I have my issues with WandaVision, more with the end of WandaVision, to be honest. But what you cannot take away from the entire cast is how they seamlessly switched from genre to genre to genre. And the one who was the master of it, hands down, was Catherine and Elizabeth Olsen. And watching that first episode, which was just such a great A, take that to Mayor of Easttown because
And
that
all
is,
of those shows, frankly, it's the killing,
yes,
it's the
yes,
bridge, it's
yes.
yeah.
And
And
the
I
fact,
love those shows, but I also feel like I was like, you know what, you needed that.
yeah,
You needed
especially
that.
since they lost to Mayor of Easttown for the Emmys and the Golden Globes. So it was kind of a little, yeah, we can do what you do too. We can do
Mm,
what you do too, and we can do it better, actually. So I really loved that. I loved that I love the continuity of the characters who were from the original series from WandaVision, who were in this, and that the characteristics and personalities were the same in the first episode. I just loved everything that happened up to and including the reveal of her removing the layers, and the nightmare fuel of that.
mhm,
Because what Wanda did was cruel. Everything Wanda did on WandaVision, to be perfectly honest, was cruel. And what she did to Agatha was super cruel. And so seeing her literally and figuratively shred and remove all of that mess that Wanda left her in was so spine tingling and triumphant while also not woobifying her. One of the things that Marvel, I will say, when they're on, they're really on, is they make you, when it's done right, they make you care about the quote unquote villains and understand their points of view. Whether it's Killmonger, whether it's Loki and Echo, we empathize. And I love the space that we've already gotten in the first three episodes. We have so much information about this character in the first 3 episodes and the other characters in these first 3 episodes. And it was done so well. And I really loved how they leaned into that. The other thing I've loved are the other characters. I'll let you talk about those.
Well, I mean, I want to start with Agatha. There's You said it yourself. One of the things that, I mean, Agatha's defining characteristic in WandaVision is the fact that, that Catherine Hahn steals the show at every turn. How do you make a TV show that centers around the scene stealer? And I feel like they've done a really good job of just kind of like, I don't quite know where this arc is going. This has been one of the most fun Marvel shows for me. I feel like Loki was never a great fit. There was always some like frustration I had with that show. Echo was almost like watching how I'm watching The Penguin now, where it's like this is a crime drama set off to the side, and it doesn't feel as marvelly. Whereas Ms. Marvel was one of my favorite shows. It was just fun. It was youthful, like it was clever, and you had that like the family, being so involved in it, um, in a way that wasn't like cringy like Blue Beetle was. And so this is one of those shows where I'm just like, this is just fun. Like everything here, like it's the perfect casting, starting with Catherine Hahn, because she has a way of being very sympathetic, even when she is acting completely unsympathetic. Even when Agatha's character is just doing these terrible things, the gag is that she, will constantly make the petty choice, the cruel choice, the mean choice. Even when you think, oh, she's grown a little, she's turned a little, it's like, no, it's still Agatha. It's she's kind of there to amuse herself, and that's sort of the veneer of it. Because really, the idea that she's there to amuse herself just gives the writers a reason to have her amuse us endlessly, and I'm totally on board with it because Catherine Hahn can make that happen. This is she's neat. She's needed a show that's just centered on her for the longest time, and I will say there has been. I feel like there's some inconsistency from episode to episode where they don't quite know what to do. Like, is she being genuinely cruel? Is she doing that like witch with a heart of gold thing, or they lean so hard to it that it's like, well, I don't even know where you're trying to go. Like, there are definitely some instances where it feels that way. It's not enough for me to still, for me to not love the show. And yeah, all of the cast honestly is so much fun. I love seeing Deborah Jo Rupp show up in pretty much everything, anything. She was in that '70s show, that what is it, '90s show, that 2000. Like she's just always around and always clever. Patty Lupone has been a legend since I was a kid, and is still legending her way through things because she can convey the thing that you want, where she feels like she's Patty LuPone. So she feels like this big, powerful witch, but also she's an amazing actress. She's Patty LuPone. So she can also convey loss and regret and like a life just ill spent, and like just this person who's like still trying to turn their life around, to have like these moments of joy. Aubrey Plaza has been used perfectly because it's just the right amount. Because you really could, if you have her sign on for something, you could have her just do anything, and you could spend too much time on her. I like that she goes away, and we've got the Witch's Road that we're talking about. Also, Sashir Zameda, I loved her on SNL for the brief time she was on. She's I love seeing her in things, and she shows up, and she's never a character as long as I want her to be. So I like the idea that she is a featured player on this show. Ali An has just been menacing and amazing, and um, yeah, and then Joe Locke, kind of rounding out. I don't know anything about this actor at all. I just know that like didn't see Heartstoppers, and like it's just um but I'm excited because it's really hard sometimes to find like someone to play that charismatic teen character. The actor's 21, but still like you have this sort of like junior witch, and it can just be such a cliche and just so annoying. sometimes, and it has not been. It has been executed really well. They found a really charismatic person, someone you feel sympathy for, even as Agatha is just like whipping this poor boy, uh, and dragging him along on this perilous adventure, along with along with the rest of the characters, Mrs. Hart in particular, who we don't know the fate of right now. So it's just, I don't know, it's like watching grown up Goonies. It's like,
Great
satisfies that.
comparison.
It does. It scratches that itch for like, good Sanderson sisters. It's like, just reminds me of all the good witchy things, all the fun witchy things. I want to watch a little practical magic when this thing wraps up.
Literally
You
was
know,
thinking the same thing. Yep.
right around the time, like it does the job that some of these like legendary films and TV shows do when it comes to witches, is making, kind of gluing it all together. And you see that at the end in the credits, where there's all these clips from, Bewitched and from The Craft and from, so many other things, that it respects this lineage. It's fun. It's light. I know it's got, MCU
Well,
implications. I know things are terrible. Well, okay, so there are like terrible things. Fair. Like child sacrifice, those light topics that we all deal with in
yeah.
our day to day. All right, fine. So it's getting, I know, I know terrible things are coming, but I'm having fun.
Yes. And that's what I think they're doing really well. As someone who does know the character's history, and I do not want to spoil it for anyone, including you, when something you said earlier really kind of pinged my radar, which is you can't tell if she's where she's going, and how, like, is she being mean for meanness sake, or being petty for petty's sake, or she's being sincere. And that's actually a core fundamental part of who Agatha is. She is very much a school of hard knocks witch, if that makes sense. She's not a good guy, she's not a bad guy, she's Agatha. It's Loki in female form to an extent. Not good, he's not bad, he's just Loki. And so this character was one of those chaotic neutral characters from jump, almost from her inception in comic books. She just is chaos incarnate, and she, if she decides she likes you, she will, quite literally in one case, lay down her life to protect you. But if she doesn't, man, you do not want to be on the wrong side of that woman. And so that, and you're going to get, if I'm right, again, you're going to get a lot more of Shashir, because her character is hugely important in the comics. And so, as well as Alice Wu Gulliver, which I thought that was an interesting change from the books, is that they made the Wu a part of her name as opposed to a title, which is what should that's her title in the books, not her name. But I did thought that was an interesting change, and it has interesting implications, and I'm not mad at it. So
So all of these characters like are already part of the Agatha mythos, are already
yes,
established Marvel characters and
yes,
already have fates kind of laid out for them.
not completely laid out because it's comic books, and as Ta-Nehisi Coates said, why kill a character when you can put them in a coma? Um, you know, it's Marvel and comics and things change, but a lot of these characters are very much characters who are deeply embedded in both the X-Men mythos, the Shang-Chi mythos, the Iron Fist mythos, and the Fantastic Four mythos. So for me, again, someone who's going in knowing that, I am just sitting here going, yeah, that looks like it's gonna be a thing. I know it's gonna happen. And having them all together. Now, what's interesting is putting them together in this way. And what I mean by that is that I think they did a really good job. These characters have interacted before in the comics, but not quite like this. And what they're doing really well is letting the lore of the characters inform So, what was one of my biggest complaints about Civil War, right? Which is the characters were acting in a way that was contrary to every single thing I knew about those characters, both from on screen as well as animation, as well as the actual comic books, to force a movie. What I'm seeing here is they are respecting who all of these characters are canonically in comic books, canonically, I should say, in the comics, but they've put them in a situation that they've never been in the comics. But the way they're reacting to the situation, every single character makes complete sense for those of us who've read those in the comic books. And I think that is the show's biggest strength. That is the biggest thing that they have done well, is for people like me who know who the characters are, they have done a great job of making these characters react to this situation exactly the way these characters would react, and having them go forward the way they're teaming up, the way they're caring for each other. There's a line that happens in the show that I don't know if you picked up on, where a character in says we have to protect Agatha. And that line is going to be really, really important. When you go back and rewatch the episode, that line and the character speaking it is super important. So that kind of leads into the next thing, which is where do we think this is going? So I'm going to actually let you go first as someone who doesn't know all of these characters. And I want to see what you think is going to happen. And then
Well,
I'm going to say what I think is going to happen. And more importantly, who I think the team is.
so I feel like there's so many things. I feel like they want us to believe the teen is her son or her child. Like I feel like that's sort of the easy, hints that they're not so subtly dropping that nobody. I feel like nobody is buying that. They're picking up these breadcrumbs in earnest. But at the same time, I just don't know who uh, this kid actually is, and I'm kind of endlessly curious about it. I feel like this definitely ends with one death at the end of the Witch's Road. I feel like Mrs. Hart's time is coming to an end at some point. I could be wrong. She could also, come out of there, full of revenge or discover her inner witch. There's so many different uh, ways this could go, and they're all kind of, some of my favorite tropes. I feel like we down that, but the reality is, I like things that are a little bit predictable, or at least, these are familiar stories. So I like the familiar. I like seeing ways in which they make familiar decisions feel clever, and so I really don't know how the road ends, who it ends with, and I also it hasn't. So as much as I love the show, it also hasn't really explained to me as much until maybe the third episode, like why everyone's on this quest and what they get at the end of it. At different times it feels like these witches all were powered at once and then lost those powers, and then for some it seems like they never had them to begin with. And if it's a mix of those things, then that's also being explained very poorly. Maybe I'll catch it on the next watch. But I think because of that, I really just don't know what's going to happen, and I'm having fun not knowing. I'll make that Goonies comparison again. I feel like it still makes it rewatchable because of all the fun twists and turns that we have, and the fact that literally everyone is cast in their perfect. So I'm excited for what comes next, but I cannot figure it out right now. Uh, but to be fair, I'm really done with these things. Belle.
That's because you are not as big of a nerd as I am, at least not in this area. Your nerd is different. Your nerd is powerful, but not as different, is not the same as mine. Um, I think that we've met at least one of these characters already. And I think the teen, there was a line in the very first episode that I think a lot of people glossed over that I immediately went, okay. And that was the line about how in the next county over, there was an accident and two airbags were deployed. And that was not to me a throwaway line. So while you think that the teen is Agatha's son, Nicholas Scratch, and it could be, but I don't think so. Now, also granted, I saw the early casting announcements and I remember them. So I am a little bit spoiled, I think, if those are accurate, about who is in the cast. Um, I think that there's a lot of hints that the teen is Wiccan. For those of you who do not know, Wiccan is Wanda Maximoff's and the Visions, but really Wanda Maximoff and her mental illnesses baby, one of her twins. The other one is Speed. And so in the comics, she basically manifested those kids and they were born to different people, but they were physically born to their actual parents. But they were still Wanda's kids. That's the only way I can explain it. If anybody who's watched Batman Beyond, you'll understand what I'm talking about. That's the only way to explain it. Go watch Batman Beyond, and then you will understand what I mean. So I am waiting to see either reveal whether it turns out the teen is Nicholas and she doesn't remember, or if it turns out because Rio's still in play, Aubrey Plaza's character is still in play. And there's a reason Agatha hates her guts. It's the only character we've ever seen Agatha have a genuine, I want to on-site you, but I can't because I don't have the power to on-site you. And that is the first time we've seen her genuinely hostile to anyone, whether it was on WandaVision or this. Either reveal will be satisfying for me. I am looking forward to seeing what happens specifically with Alice and with Jennifer. I am looking forward to see how everyone comes out of the Witch's Road. I really, really, really want to see Lila's, how they're going to handle Lila's backstory. Truly. Her character is literally thousands of years old. And so I want to see how that plays. And if we get that. Honestly, I don't think that unless they pull a Ralph Boner on us, I can't see any way that the show ends that wouldn't be satisfying to me. And as long as the quality of the writing, the quality of the humor, the show is so funny, and the quality of the set design continues, again, another show made with practical effects, I'm here for it. That's it. I am here for this. I have not been this delighted, this emotionally torn, this amused by a show since Loki. And I am just ready for wherever this takes us and how it leads into the larger MCU. And I think that this show is a winner. And I also have to cackle at all the people who kept saying it was going to fail because God forbid we center women over 40 in a TV series. But in the meantime, I am ready for wherever the Witch's Road takes us. And also this song is a bop. I can't wait. I've been humming it in my head, in my background. And I hate that because I hate when I get a song stuck, but I love them for it. I cannot wait to talk to you about this when this is all over and see where we are when the show is done. And maybe that'll be our drunk review. But in the between time, this is Belle, Pop Culture Uncovered. You can find us at PC Uncovered on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, and Pop Culture Uncovered on Facebook, YouTube, and Tumblr. And we love you so much. We'll see you on the flip side. Peace.